All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. John Gallagher. You can call me John. I am very excited to share with you my presentation called Bright Futures, Fulfilling Careers in the Skilled Trades. And I'm going to take you through, as parents and guardians, why it's essential that we consider the skilled trades as a viable, exciting career for your child. And we'll end with how you can get started. I'll just direct your attention for anyone who uses social media to that hashtag TDSB parent conf. If anyone would like to share anything, capture images or your thoughts and tweet that out in part of the as part of the conversation. So a bit about myself. So I am a researcher. I study workers, Canadian workers. I've actually studied thousands of Canadian workers. I've done surveys of workers across the country. Generally, I have studied workers in the skilled trades specifically, and I've studied workers in the construction sector specifically. And when you do these kinds of studies, in particular in regard to job satisfaction, we started to learn some interesting things about Canada's workforce. And we came up with what you could call a segmentation of workers. We've broken up the Canadian workforce into 5 segments based on how people feel about their jobs and how satisfied they are. And this is what has been really fascinating. And it's what's taken me really across the country sharing this information because there is a really cool finding in here. And if you're jumping ahead, you can see that those who work in the skilled trades are very comfortable in their jobs and are among the happiest workers. But I'll go back and just say about 11% of the Canadian population, we can describe them as square pegs. You know that phrase, right? Square pegs, round hole. They don't fit. Their education is not aligned with their work. They do not feel like they are doing a job that is meant for them, and they certainly feel like their education, their training is not aligned with their work, and they're unhappy. The other part of the workforce, a fairly big one here, 26%, are the bottom rungers. And we see this bottom rungers as among the younger generation. This generation are those who want to climb the ladder. I like this image. This gentleman here is looking up. He's hopeful, but also there's frustration. There's entry-level salaries that are very low. There are anxieties about the future. There are watching people who are in many sectors, especially professional sectors, in their 40s and 50s, suddenly losing their jobs, not established, confused about the future. And therefore, that creates anxiety among anyone who's trying to succeed from a younger age in various sectors of the workforce. And then we have the musketeers, and we say, we use this phrase because it's encompassed by all for one and one for all. I'm sure you're familiar with that phrase. And we see all for one and one for all as among many workers in the healthcare industry. They are highly stressed. They are overworked. They are always on their feet. And they are physically tired. However, they really like who they work with, all for one and one for all. And that sense of camaraderie, that sense of teamwork is often what drives people who are in the musketeers, primarily in the healthcare industry, to continue working in their job. So you have one group here that is miserable. You have one group that's, kind of happy, but not that happy. You have another group, the musketeers, that are, sort of, they're stressed out, but they like the people that they work with. And then you have the comfortable and the fulfilled. And this is where throughout our research, we discovered tradespeople as loving their jobs. In fact, why? Because they have work-life balance. They have a means to a good life. They are working indoors and outdoors. They are using their body and brain. and also those in the education sector, the fulfilled, uh, interacting with people, having agency over their job, uh, having work-life integration. So you have the square pegs, the bottom rungers, the musketeers, and the fulfilled. So the good news, friends, is that almost half of Canadians are happy in their jobs. That's terrific. But the bad news is that more than half of Canadians are not, as you saw in the previous slide. So that's really important. And why it's important is because we have to look at the emotions that young people are feeling today, our young workers. So if you were to think about today's young worker, there's a good chance that you would say they're ambitious, they have good intentions. They're technologically savvy. They know a lot about the world around them. They're, relatively speaking, good at communicating, at least in the digital sense, very quickly. They want to make a difference in the world. All good things. But unfortunately, we know some not so good things about how today's young workers are feeling. Those who are already in the workforce and who are about to enter the workforce. We know that they are tired, that they are stressed, that they are worried, that they are in debt, and that they are feeling lost. And this is a set of emotions, negative emotions and experiences that cannot be understated. And we're seeing it play out, especially today in light of the pandemic. And we are going to see the negative effects of these emotions if we can't correct them. And one way to correct them is through an individual's choice of work for the remainder of their lives or for large portions of their working life. And I want to talk to you about how these emotions are much less felt among skilled trades workers and why it's really important to remember that and to help spread this message. I'm tired. Are you tired? If you stayed up really late last night, binge watching something on Netflix or Prime or Disney Plus, maybe you're physically tired because you stayed up so late. Or maybe you're tired because you're staring at a screen for so long. Tired is actually the number one emotion, positive or negative, that the majority of Canadians are feeling. Tired. But tired, ladies and gentlemen, is not just feeling physically exhausted. Tired is feeling like you're not doing what you were meant to do. There are people who can work to physical exhaustion, but they don't feel tired. In fact, they feel alive. And when do you feel alive? Let me just back that up and say the opposite. The balance of feeling tired is not feeling less sleepy or energetic or uplifted. The opposite of feeling tired is feeling alive. And that is what most people are craving every day, to feel alive. And our experience in life is a balance. And we're always trying to do things that make us feel alive, making certain purchases, watching certain media, um, uh, engaging with certain people on social media or directly, trying to create experiences that bring some sense of feeling alive into our the mundane nature of our daily lives. When is the opportunity, if you really wanted to build it into your 24-hour day, to feel alive? If you were to break up the workday, the average day into 3 chunks. One chunk is when you're sleeping. You can't feel alive when you're sleeping. Another is when you're at home. Can you feel alive when you're at home? Usually people are sitting at the dinner table or sitting on the couch. The opportunity to feel truly alive is at work. It's that part of the day when you're out and you're moving around and ideally using your body and your brain. Tradespeople, ladies and gentlemen, feel alive at work. Tradespeople feel alive at work. They're using their body and their brain. My days are never boring, says this young lady. There is so much variety. You get to see the product of your work right away. No day is ever the same. Tradespeople use their body and their brain, and they're not sitting at home. I'll talk more about this later, but what happened after the pandemic? Anyone who didn't lose their job, for the most part, they were relegated to working from their kitchen table, their office, or some kind of makeshift workspace so they and their spouse could figure it out at home. Not tradespeople. They just waited on the call because they knew that eventually civilization would need them and that they would need to go out and fulfill the work that needs to be done in order to make our society go forward. And that is not by sitting at home in front of a computer. It's by using their body and their brain and benefiting from the health effects of that. I'm stressed. How many people feel stressed today? This can be directly correlated with the inundation of media, digital technologies, this thing right here in the palm of our hand, a distraction, if you will, every single day up until when we go to bed and the first thing when we get up in the morning. Constant notifications, constant requests for your attention. Split that while you're trying to get something done at work. That undoubtedly, it cannot go any other way, introduce a high level of stress into your life. Is this you? I like this comic from the, or rather cartoon from the New Yorker. It's a gentleman with a cone of shame around his neck. And he's saying to his colleague, it keeps me from looking at my phone every 2 seconds. What I really like about this particular cartoon is it's an adult. It's a grown adult. It's not a child. Because it used to be that grown adults would try to manage their children's digital media intake, but it's hard. It's very tempting. And we find that even grown adults, even with their good intentions, are finding themselves adding to their stress by constantly receiving and welcoming these kinds of notifications and calls for splitting their attention. What they need, what we all need, what we've always needed is a more analog life, a non-digital life, because the digital life is new. It is not in our quote unquote DNA. It is not what we as human beings are used to. And it is something that has entered our lives so quickly and changed the way people behave. And as a result, changed the impact in terms of the stress levels and people's ability to manage that kind of stress. In other words, it's very difficult when you're so accessible, especially by your workplace, to have work-life balance. And you know where I'm going with this. Tradespeople have work-life balance. If anyone watching right now or watching this recording, you will undoubtedly empathize or know someone who can relate to being contacted by your place of work while on vacation or after supposed scheduled work hours or on weekends, and you've responded. You've chimed back in. You've set that precedent that you're able to be accessible during your workday. And absolutely, it interferes with your relationship with your spouse. Absolutely, it can interfere with your relationship with your kids. Absolutely, it can interfere with your children's relationship with their parents and people around them when their attention is not focused. Tradespeople have work-life balance. When they're done work, they're done work. They go home and spend quality time with their family. They take weekend trips. They go on vacation and do not think for a second about if the boss is going to require something of them while they're in the Dominican Republic or somewhere else on vacation. Okay. Work-life balance. How many of you parents can say you have that? And don't you want that for your child? Let's hear it from other young workers. I'm usually home before 5. I can manage my time for my convenience. And here's something that we don't talk enough about in relation to the skilled trades. You can be self-employed. Depending on that job, you can start your own business. You can make your own hours. You can be an entrepreneur. And this happens all the times across various sectors in the trades and construction. So we heard that tradespeople feel alive at work. Tradespeople have work-life balance. Well, here's something else that tradespeople don't feel. They don't feel worried. I'm worried is a common expression among young people today. One thing that this device allows young people to do is learn about everything that's happening in the world around them, in the palm of their hand. And what they are seeing cannot be ignored. Job losses all across the world. As I mentioned earlier, adults in their 40s and 50s suddenly finding themselves unemployed and searching for work. The pandemic alone in Ontario resulted in 1.1 million jobs lost and another 1.1 million jobs cut in terms of hours. Of course, young people who are thinking about the future have a great sense of worry and anxiety. What if they're making the right choice? What if they're not making the right choice? How do they know that what they're about to embark on in terms of a career is going to even get them a job, let alone secure them one for a long period of time? Will they be learning skills that are going to allow them to pivot to another type of work if they need it? Well, this here is probably my favorite slide. And if you are taking pictures, go ahead and take a picture of this slide or screenshot it and share it out. I want to talk you through it. It's a study of almost 1,000 tradespeople versus a study of the greater population of Canada of working Canadians, also close to 1,000. And we asked them to respond to the following statements. And I just want to read out the differences between how tradespeople and working Canadians responded. Most days at the top, I feel I've put in an honest day's work, 73% to 66% of the rest of Canada. So 3/4 to 2/3. My work gives me a sense of success and achievement. 2/3 of skilled tradespeople can say that. Less than half of Canadians can say that. I often have fun while I'm working. 60% of tradespeople compared to 43% of the rest of Canada. But look at the last one. Nowadays, I often feel worried. Just 17% of skilled tradespeople versus 42% of the rest of working population of Canada, 17%. And the pandemic played out in a way that really illustrates this sense of anxiety. Tradespeople during the pandemic, the initial stages were just, as I said earlier, waiting for the call, right? Waiting for the call. And sooner or later, they were called. In fact, much sooner than later. And the rest of Canada lost their job, had their jobs cut, or were relegated to their desk. And now they're going to look at having their industries really changing in the future. There's going to be a lot of considerations about how work companies can maybe save money by just hiring workers, maybe in different cities than expensive cities, so they can offer people a lower wage. There's all kinds of different ways in which this pandemic is going to threaten the security of especially business professionals and office workers moving forward. How could it not? Look how comfortable suddenly people got and with working from home. Tradespeople have skills security. We thought about saying job security, but it goes beyond that. Skills security is better than job security because it is true. Anything could happen that could make things turn on its head. Okay, we've called these black swan events. You can look up that term. But tradespeople have a skill that allows them to be transferable. The skills you develop, as this young man here, a tile setter, says, is highly transferable. A trade is portable. How do we know that? Well, everyone, water is water. Electricity is electricity. Tile is tile. Wood is wood. Okay, concrete is concrete. And you need to look as parents, not just in the next 10 years, but look to the next 20 or 30 years. And whether or not your child will, as an adult, have the practical skills in order to respond to a crisis like the one that we're in. What if they needed to pick up and move to a different province? What if they needed to pick up and move to a different country where the language isn't English? It's much easier when tactile things like wood and water and electricity, okay, are universal, to pick up and go to another country if needed. Okay, a trade is portable. I'm in debt. This is a very common experience among young workers, not to mention Canadians. You probably have heard the headlines in the last 2 years. I've seen it, that I believe it is 49% or maybe even 52%. Basically half of Canadians are $200 away from financial insolvency. You think about that. Do you want that for your child? $200 away from financial insolvency. And young people today are especially feeling the debt. Never mind not never mind, but in addition to the cost of a university education, there's also the cost of just trying to live every day. It is changing a little right now during the pandemic in terms of rental costs of housing, but for a long time, and I venture to say it will continue, it will go back to this type of pricing to have a one-bedroom condo in the Greater Toronto area cost about $2,200 a month. That's around $27,000 a year, okay, for rent. And no wonder young people are feeling anxiety, compounded with their debt. Not tradespeople, though. Tradespeople actually get paid while learning, whether it's an apprenticeship or whether it's on-the-job training. Think about that contrast. If your child pursues a university education, they pay at the end of that university education, let's say $40,000 or more, if it's just a traditional university in Ontario, at the end of 4 years. Then they find out, after investing that money for that credential, whether or not it's going to get them a job. Contrast that with the path of someone in the skilled trades, where you're getting on-the-job training, and maybe for 3 years, at a training rate, just a training rate, let's make up a number of $40,000 a year, you realize, you know what? It's not for me. You still made $120,000 over 3 years. And in contrast, after university, you invested $40,000 or more and realizes you can't get a job with that particular credential. That's not the case, of course, with all university degrees, but certainly is the case that if you're just going to university, you need work experience too. And if you can't balance the both, you ultimately come out with a credential, and people want work experience in their workforce. I started earning when I was 19, says this worker. You can support a family on it. Think about that. You want your child to support a family. You want your child to start earning early. You notice that I'm leaving this particular point about getting paid, about getting good money, to somewhere in the middle of this uh, presentation. That's because we always talk about the money when talking about the trades. And I know that there are other reasons why. Through our research, you should be encouraging this for your child. But yes, the money is a big one. I interviewed a building wrap foreman the other day. Started as a laborer, then moved up to a handyman, and now he wraps houses. You've seen those houses that are wrapped in Tyvek paper, okay? He disclosed his salary to me. He's 26 years old. He makes $80,000 a year. Pause for effect, right? He's $80,000 a year, 26 years old. You better believe he's supporting a family on it. And here is a great slide too. When asking people in an open-ended way to talk about their job in the trades, and we created a word cloud, and you can see at the bottom right, good pay. Yes, good pay is one of the big benefits, but also they're always learning. There are many opportunities for growth. There are it's fast-paced, it's hands-on, a sense of accomplishment, work outdoors, and in many cases, the opportunity to join a union and the benefits that come from that. And finally, I'm lost. It is a paradox that this device that I keep referring to, despite being able to connect all of us instantly, that young people today feel more lost than ever. Maybe it's because the more information you have, the more questions you have, the more uncertainty that leads to. And you wonder, how do I make a difference in this world? Where do I fit in? What's my role in life? Am I actually going to do something that matters to other people? Well, tradespeople can claim that, every one of them. Ask them how they make a difference at work, and they will be able to answer that question. I help make Canada's businesses and institutions modern and safe. I contribute to the wellness of my community. I build schools, I build hospitals, I build stadiums. I help keep things going. I help I allow for electricity to flow. You have an internet connection because of, in part, because of what I do. You're able to have water flowing to your house, to have power into your house, to live in an insulated home and work comfortably because of what I do. Mom and Dad, how are you making a difference in the world with your work? Some of you can answer that question, but in general, some of you, and I mean no disrespect, maybe you are involved in helping sell more salt, sugar, and fat to families. You work for a packaged goods company and you sell junk food. It's a big arena. Go into a grocery store. There's lots of junk food on the shelves. Someone's involved in that particular area of work. Would you, in all honesty, look at that, aside from being a great tax-paying citizen, and say, yeah, that's a great difference I'm making through my job? No, probably not. Probably not. Of course, you're making money, you're raising your family, but in the end, when talking about your job, can you really say you're making a difference? Some people work for, the lottery, organized gambling, and we all know the negative effects that has on people's lives. It can celebrate and improve one person's life, and it can lead to ruin for many other people's lives who have gambling addictions. My point is, despite us being grown adults, despite parents making a difference in raising their children and having jobs to raise their family, don't you want your kids to say, I make a difference in this world, and be able to articulate that? And you get that through mentoring too. How many people have had a mentor teach them something in their profession. Most jobs don't have this. In the trades, 80% of workers were prepared by mentors. So if the trades are so great, why is there a shortage? Well, I like to say it's a marketing problem. When you think of a tradesperson, or when the average Canadian thinks of a tradesperson, they think of a male in a pit, toiling in the hot sun or extreme cold, always dirty and maybe looking gruff or unhappy. First thing I want to point out is, as a parent, as an adult working in the real world, that gruff people, unhappy looking people are in every profession. It's not just a trades or construction. You're going to find gruff looking people in every profession. So let's set that aside. The problem is perpetuated actually by parents who want to protect their kids. And for the most part, parents just know what they know. And what they know is that if you want a good life, go to university. That's especially true for parents who are from another country and come here. They want their kids to go to university because that's what they know. They associate it maybe with status. They associate it maybe with that idea of becoming a doctor or a lawyer or a business person. All of which, yes, they make good money, but you better believe they are time poor. And mom and dad, if you want your kid to become a doctor, lawyer, or business person so that maybe they can take care of you when you're older, maybe they will, but you're not going to see them as often because they're working 80 hours a week. And we talked about earlier how tradespeople not only have a comfortable life and are providing for their family, but they also have work-life balance. They can spend time with their family. And the other reason that we are misunderstood about the trades, and this is changing, thankfully, is the education system. And teachers and guidance counselors in the past certainly maybe forgot how influential they are. And in talking about jobs, didn't mention the trades, but that's changing, especially in regard to an organization I'm going to talk about at the end called OYAP, the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program, and the work that they're doing and helping teachers and change their mindsets, and also just remind them to include the trades when talking about future careers. The other reason is that our culture generally values academic intelligence. And when you think of academic intelligence, you think of people who are good with words and maybe and see patterns in words, see patterns in numbers. And we call these peoples our public intellectuals. I want to talk to you about something called balanced intelligence, where the previous group of people who have academic intelligence, which see the world, see patterns in words and numbers. You have people with balanced intelligence who see patterns in the real world, how to connect water to a house, how electricity can be turned on and turned off, and how it works with circuitry and wiring, why a foundation is built, how if you had, let's say, one individual young person who can very eloquently tell me Plato's allegory of the cave, and then you had another young person explain how roads and bridges are built, which one's smarter? They're both smart. They just have two different types, broadly speaking, of intelligences. People with balanced intelligence use their body and brain. They're more practical than theoretical. They have strong attention to detail. They are safety conscious. They have situational awareness. They are smart, but they use their smarts in a different way. So we have to think about this when we just constantly point people toward the theoretical education component of higher education. So what can you do as parents? Well, 3 recommendations here. Talk differently. Confront your own prejudices. Hopefully in this presentation, you've realized that maybe you've had a bit of a negative tone when talking about skilled trades jobs, and maybe I've changed your mind, and acknowledge that, and confront other people now that you have this information. Confront other people when maybe they talk negatively about a career that they don't understand. Promote the trades as a pillar, not the third pillar in higher education for your child. Don't talk to them about university, college, trades. Say trades, college, university, college, trades, university. Okay? Don't form this hierarchy. Level the playing field. Talk to them about the trades as an equal pillar in a path that they can pursue. And celebrate balanced intelligence in your child if you notice it. And recognize that they're smart and that their applications, if they are not someone who wants to go or sees that they would be a good fit for a theoretical education, that there is always that opportunity to apply their balanced intelligence in a job like the skilled trades, like a tile setter or an insulation installer or a welder or a framer or a concrete and drain specialist or an excavator operator or a handyman or a bulldozer operator or a bricklayer or a mobile crane operator or a tower crane operator or a tunnel boring machine operator. Get those subways built. The trim carpenter, a site supervisor, a stonemason, a carpet installer, a drilling superintendent, a health and safety manager, agricultural equipment technician, tool and die maker, cabinet maker, sous and pastry chef, automotive service tech, hairstylist, mechanical insulator, chef, machinist, welder, electrician, plumber, and yes, female welder, women electricians, women plumbers, and women iron workers, industrial mechanics, refrigeration and air conditioning mechanics, and women truck and coach technicians, instrumentation and control technicians, and automotive painters. And they all have the same thing in common. They feel alive at work. They have work-life balance. They have skills security. They get paid while learning, and they make a difference at work and in this world. How many of you, mom and dad, can say that about yourself? And whether you can or can't, don't you want your kids to say that about themselves in their future careers? 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. If I've sold you, if you're curious and want to know how your child can start and the apprenticeship pathway in high school, please get in touch with the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program, OYAP. And OYAP, if your students, it happens in co-op. If your child is 16 years of age, completed 16 credits, that is an opportunity for them to explore this in their co-op. They can try a trade in the regular OYAP program, figure out what works for them. Or maybe they already know, maybe they want to specialize, they want to look at a technical school, the specialized OYAP. They can start an apprenticeship in the accelerated OYAP program. They can explore something specific, step 2 construction, explore the construction trades, explore transportation careers and trades. Or they can work with TDSB facilities and help fix up schools. Again, contribute to the development, the structure, the infrastructure of society. Make a difference. If you want to learn more, if you want to get your questions answered, if you want to get your child signed up, if they meet the age and credit criteria, visit oyaptdsb.com. oyaptdsb.com for information there. And if you want to skip that step and get your questions answered directly, email 2 of my favorite people, Matthew or Shannon. Okay, Matthew or Shannon. Matthew Bradley, OYAP coordinator, Shannon McLeod, central OYAP teacher. There are their email addresses, their pictures and their email, and even their contact number at their institutions are available at the OYAP website. But why don't you just take a picture of this slide right now and save their email address, and they welcome your questions to help you get started on a path to getting your child familiar with the trades and into a fulfilling career. They're as passionate about this as I am. I'm going to end, and I think someone should be fielding me some questions if anyone has been asking them. And I'm going to end by actually leaving this slide up for just a moment for anyone who wants to take a picture of it. And I'm going to stop sharing and take any questions in the remaining time that we have.
I got a question.
Yes, sir. Hi, Robert.
Okay. What happened is that I worked 26 years as a medical board technologist, 14 years for the public health lab. I got laid off, try to find work. Problem is, I decide I'm going to go into the construction business. Problem is, if you're a white male, forget about, first of all, trying to get into it, because they do discriminate on who they do want to go into their programs. Things like building up, TCBN, OYAP, they do discriminate in who they want to go in there. If you're over the age of 35, they also want to discriminate against you. Also, too, when I had to pay for my own carpentry course myself a year ago, I thought by November I'll have the 1,800 hours to complete my first year. I'm only at 700 hours because there's no jobs available. Also, too, and the carpentry union will tell you, 90% of those who do go into the apprenticeship program drop out after 1 year. And the biggest problem is there's no jobs. I myself have gone to construction sites, handed my resume, even show it with my tools and my equipment, but they wouldn't take me for several reasons. And one of the biggest one is, you're an apprentice, we won't take you. We want journeymen. So I've always asked, where can I get the ability to be trained? Well, find somebody else who's willing to do it. And then when you become a journeyman and you get your red sealed, maybe we'll hire you. So I can tell you right now, I know it sounds negative, but I am in the field. And I have gone to field where they found out after a day's work, or maybe half a day's work, we don't need you anymore because we have to keep these people, but we can't keep you. So please go home. I've been there jobs, show up for a job, send an email at nighttime, where do you want me to work tomorrow? We don't need you anymore. So I'm going to tell you right now, I have been through the whole program. I've been a year on it. It's been very frustrating. And a lot of young people are going to find it very frustrating because they're going to face, I hate to say this, discrimination against white males. And I have been discriminated against because.
All right, Robert, sorry, you're, I don't know if you have a question there.
That's my question. How can you come up with a lot of stories when they're not really true? And I am in the field.
So Robert, I'll address it. So yes, it does sound very negative. This is a forum to allow parents to get exposure to careers for many people are very lucrative. Despite your experience, I have interviewed firsthand about 200 people in the trades that are young, that are well employed, that have jobs. I can't speak specifically to the one area of the massive construction sector that is carpentry, or the Carpenters Union. And I'm sorry that you're having those difficulty there. But we're talking about working with someone like Matthew or Shannon, who are going to put students on that path. And absolutely, maybe with respect, looking at you, you seem to be a little, you're older. Maybe in 30 years, something will happen with a particular sector in an area of construction where they're going to face similar experiences as you. But your circumstance is not the circumstance that we're expecting among 16, 17, 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds that are getting the full support of the TDSB program. That's all.
I beg the difference because
John, can I jump in there?
Go ahead, Matt.
I've been in it because I said 90% are being after a year quit.
Can
And
I
I
jump in
tried
there for a sec?
No Yap wouldn't let me go in because it says you're too old. You
Right.
can't go in. It's only for kids younger.
Yeah,
Well,
it's the
So
youth.
the
It's the youth
discrimination
apprenticeship,
is
right?
there.
It's called the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program, and I'm Matt Bradley. I'm the coordinator for the program, and I can tell you right now, like if you qualify for the program, we would happily take you. If you don't have your OSSD, there is no age limit to the program. So but it is a program that's designed to get students to complete their OSSD and start in the skilled trades. It's a starting program. Okay. So there are other ways you can get into the skilled trades or continue on with your apprenticeship, but that's not what our program is designed for. It's designed to take young people and get them started. And I can tell you right now, I mean, the statistics vary every year, but we put through 1,500, 1,600, up to 2,000 people every year from the TDSB who start their apprenticeship. And of course, not everyone continues, not everybody wants to continue, but we're in the business of presenting opportunities to kids. And I'm very proud of the work that we've done. And I know that you may have some challenges. As a white male, you obviously have the experience of feeling like you haven't been hired because of discrimination. And that's your experience. And we're not here to talk about that right now. Okay. I understand that you might be frustrated and you've come here to vent, but this isn't the forum for that. And I think
it should be brought up, but it should be brought up. The fact there is discrimination, especially in the pre-apprenticeship programs, to get through. Even the unions discriminate on their pre-apprenticeship program, and they expect you to go running off and go to community college to try and learn your stuff. When I was in high school, I have taken trade stuff. But the thing is, it comes about it, they said, sorry, either you're too old, you're white, you're a male, you're this, you're that, we cannot take you. And even worse, when you go to some of these big construction companies, hoping to be there 3 or 4 years working for them, they'll say, we only want journeymen. We do not want apprentices because we don't have the time to train them. So I'm trying right now, and it's very hard in the carpenter's field. We've been told 90% of the people after 1 year drop out of the apprenticeship program because there are no jobs.
That's just plainly not true. Your statistics are completely
Then how
off.
come I only got 700 hours when I should be up to 1,800 hours? Because there's no jobs.
Okay, because you don't have a job doesn't mean that there's no jobs. I'm sorry to say.
So there are a few other questions here, Matt,
The biggest problem is
students.
we want journeymen. Yeah. We want journeymen.
Let's go to the next question.
Okay, so there's a question here. Matt, if you could please answer, is there any from a long run, is there any age limit to enter the program? That was the first question.
Okay, happy to answer that. So the program is designed for youth. We do have adults in the program. The way you age out of eligibility for our program is a little bit complicated, but I'll try and explain it to you in a simple way. So if you are under 21, anyone can participate, whether you have your OSSD or not. If you are over 21, we are only able to serve students who have not graduated with their OSSD. So if you're a high school grad and you're over 21, we unfortunately can't help you. Now, that's not to say that there are no other programs for you to get help. If you go to our website, we have a list of a bunch of pre-apprenticeship programs that are free that will help adults get the training that they require to start their apprenticeship. We also do see a lot of students leave high school and go to college and what basically is a pre-apprenticeship program. You have to pay tuition to do that, but those programs prepare students for careers in the skilled trades, if they can't find employment in the apprenticeship world.
Thanks, Matt. And another question from Amy. The question is in the long run, will tradespeople retire early due to the heavy reliance on health conditions such as lifting heavy objects? Will they prepare their retirement funds better generally. I'll take a quick shot at that one, which is, the skilled trades and construction sectors are enormous, Amy. And so while certainly some jobs undoubtedly might be a bit more physically demanding, as would be the case in the healthcare industry or transportation industry. There are certain types of jobs that are a bit more heavier in terms of physical demands on the body. And it's one of those trade-offs to really broadly. Yes, you will retire earlier, maybe with a few aches and pains. Or you could be like many people who are into their 60s still working and relatively comfortable, but sitting on a chair all day, right? So it's difficult. The question is about preparing for retirement generally, because skilled trades workers do make a very good salary. One, they are able to save for retirement. But one thing that sometimes is a challenge is there can be in some sectors seasonal work. And that means sometimes, say in the wintertime, there's no work and they have to wait until the weather warms up. And in that case, we need better financial planning for those types of workers. To answer your question, they need, and that is something that younger people are starting to look at as they save up and look to the future in this unpredictable world. I don't know if Matt wants to add to that.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that as well. I mean, I use myself as an example. I am a general carpenter. I have a red seal in general carpentry. So there was a question floating up: is what is a journeyman or a journey person? And that's someone who has the highest level of qualification, which in the case of carpentry is the C of Q, or the red seal. So that means that I can take an apprentice if I want. You can see right now I'm currently building my garage. I'm actually on the job site building my garage right now, which happens to be my backyard. But in terms of another sort of just anecdote in terms of the skilled trades is, you can start your career out of high school as a plumber, for example, and that's not necessarily the last job you're going to do. And there are lots of opportunities in all the skilled trades to move up. And, just to give you a couple examples, like the dean of hospitality at Humber College is a chef. I'm a red seal carpenter. I'm the coordinator of the OYA program. There's lots of jobs. Actually, we're dying for skilled tradespeople to come into the high schools and teach. So there's also, I'll tell you, being in construction, but my very first career was actually in banking. And I'll tell you, the two richest people that I know are hedge fund owners and construction company owners. So the great thing about most construction trades is that you can start out on the tools and work your way up to a position of entrepreneurship, and then you can do as much or as little of the tool work as you decide to. And if you're smart about money and entrepreneurial and good with clients, then you can make a tremendous amount of money by hiring other people to do the work for you. So there's no reason, if you're well trained, to damage your body prematurely. That's my answer to that. There's no reason to retire early from construction if you're smart and healthy.
And the other question from Amy is, if students want to try out OYAP and it doesn't work well, is it easy for them to go back to the academic university path?
Absolutely. And in fact, there's no reason, and I've built lots of timetables for students who are going to university or are going to college for construction management or want to do engineering, that want to get their hands on with some practical built experience, particularly engineering schools like Waterloo. They look at people very positively who have actually built things instead of just designed them and calculated. So it's no problem at all. There is a challenge in the final year of school if the student wants to go to a university that requires 6 U or M classes to gate admission to university. It's very challenging to fit a co-op timetable in there. but because 16 is the minimum age for co-op, we see grade 11s widely doing it, and it doesn't interfere with even the most robust university requirements for U credits to do a co-op that's 2 or 4 credits in your grade 11 year.
All right, I guess we're wrapping it up. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you very much, Matt. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of the conference. Bye for now.